Have you ever been staring at a math problem and just felt that wave of panic? That sudden fog that makes your mind go completely and totally blank? If you have, you are not alone, and I promise you it has absolutely nothing to do with being a math person. In this explainer, we're going to dismantle that feeling brick by brick and show you what's really going on inside your brain. It's such a physical feeling, isn't it? It kind of starts in your stomach. Your palms get a little sweaty. Your heart starts to race. You look around and it feels like everyone else is just scribbling away, totally in the zone, while you're just frozen. And it's right there in that exact moment that we tell ourselves a story, that we're just not good enough. So what is the real reason for that freeze? If it's not a lack of intelligence, and it isn't, what are we missing? Well, that is the core question we are tackling today. And honestly, the answer might just change your entire relationship with problem solving. If you want to learn how to conquer this feeling and unlock your brain's full potential, do me a favor and subscribe to Brain Power Academy right now. You won't regret it. Okay, let's dive right in. The very first thing you need to understand is that the panic you feel, it's not a character flaw. It's a biological response that's hardwired into your brain. It's not a sign of failure. It's just a survival instinct kicking in at a really, really unhelpful time. Researchers actually have a name for this. It's called math anxiety. And get this, brain scans show that just thinking about a tough math problem can light up the same parts of the brain as physical pain. It's like your brain literally thinks you're about to touch a hot stove. So what does it do? It hits the big red panic button, triggers a fight or flight response, and shuts down the exact part of your brain you need for logical thinking, your prefrontal cortex. And this is where the disconnect happens, right? This is the gap between how we interpret that freeze and what's really going on. On the inside, we're telling ourselves, I'm stupid, or this is an intellectual failure. But what's actually happening is a biological panic. Your brain is just trying to protect you from something it perceives as a threat. So the most important thing you can do is reframe that feeling. You're not dumb, you're panicked. And panic is something we can manage. But, where does all this panic even come from? Well, a lot of it comes from this really destructive myth that we've all been taught, that math is all about speed, that being good at math means you just know the answer instantly. The reality, real mathematics is a slow, messy process. Professional mathematicians spend years being confused. They get that confusion isn't a sign that you're failing. It's the sign that the real work is just getting started. This brings us to the next huge piece of the puzzle. Have you ever had this experience where you understand a concept perfectly in class? You're nodding along, it all makes sense, and then you go home and you can't solve a single problem. This is the confidence gap, and it's the exact moment where most of us start to believe we're just not cut out for this. And this shows exactly why that happens. In class, you're doing something called passive recognition. You're watching your teacher walk down a path they've already cleared. It feels easy because you're just following along. But at home, you're hit with active reconstruction. There is no path. You have to create it all by yourself. It's kind of like the difference between watching a celebrity chef chop an onion on TV and then trying not to slice your own finger off in your kitchen. So here's the crucial mistake we all make. We confuse that easy feeling of recognition with genuine mastery. And then, when we get home and we can't reproduce the results, we feel completely betrayed by our own minds. We think we suddenly got dumber, but the truth is, we never actually learned it deeply in the first place. We just recognized it. So, if that I get it feeling in class can be so misleading, can we actually trust our feelings of confidence when we're trying to solve a problem? Let's actually put it to the test. And hey, if this is all resonating with you so far, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It really helps us know we're on the right track and helps other people find this content. All right, let's play a little game. No pens, no paper, definitely no calculators. Just clear your mind for a second and do the math in your head as I say the numbers. You ready? Take 1,000. Now add for a teacher. Now add another 1,000, add 30, add another 1,000, add 20, one more 1,000, and finally add 10. Okay, got it? Lock in your answer. What did you get? I'm willing to bet that a lot of you immediately said 5,000. It just feels right, doesn't it? The pattern seems so clean. It just leads you there. But the correct answer is 4,100. Did you get it? If you didn't, don't worry about it at all. Your brain just fell for a really common pattern. It's a mental shortcut our brains love to take because it feels fast and easy. But as you just saw, sometimes the fastest path isn't the right one. And that little game proves a huge critical point. Your feelings are not facts. You might have felt incredibly confident that the answer was 5,000, but that feeling was wrong. The reality of competence often requires us to slow down, to ignore that easy-feeling answer, and to do the deliberate work. So, if we can't always trust our feelings, what can we trust? Well, we can trust a process. The absolute key is to develop a system for that moment you feel lost, a plan for when you have no idea what to do next.
I remember working with this brilliant student once. She was incredible at history, amazing at English, but she just kept failing math. So we sat down with this really complex geometry problem, and the very first words out of her mouth were, "I don't know where to start." This right here, this is the wall that every anxious student hits. So I told her, forget about solving it. Just find one thing, one single thing in this diagram you know for sure is true. She pointed out a radius. I said, great, write that down. Then she noticed 2 angles had to be equal. Fantastic, write that down too. We just repeated this simple process, one true thing at a time. And within 5 minutes, she had solved the entire problem without even realizing she was doing it. You see, her problem wasn't a lack of knowledge. It was a flawed belief. She thought she needed to see the entire path from the very start to the very finish before she could even take the first step. She was waiting for this grand epiphany instead of just starting a process. And that is the mental trap so many of us fall into. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This all sounds great, but how does this work when the clock is ticking during a high-stakes exam? Right? How do you actually turn this philosophical shift into a practical, tactical weapon that you can use when you're under pressure? That is a fantastic question, and it's exactly what we're going to cover in part 2. I'm going to share the single most powerful sentence I have ever come across that turns that paralyzing fear into productive fuel. To make sure you do not miss it, subscribe to Brainpower Academy and hit that little notification bell. In the meantime, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know down in the comments, what was your single biggest takeaway from today? I'd love to hear it.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of our deep dive on turning panic into real power. Now, if you're just jumping in, you'll definitely want to check out part 1. That's where we laid out all the big ideas, the crucial groundwork for what we're about to build right now. Because today we get our hands dirty. In our last session, we really broke down the architecture of confidence. But now we're shifting gears. We're going from theory to practice, from just understanding the problem to actually building the survival protocols you can use when the pressure is really on. Okay, let's dive right in. I want to start with a story. So picture this. I'm 16 years old, sitting in a pre-calculus midterm. I had studied for 3 weeks straight. I had the flashcards, the highlighted notes, the whole shebang. I turned the first page, and my mind went completely and totally blank. It was like someone just reached in and unplugged my brain. That was my score, 42%. I had absolutely crashed and burned. And I can still feel it, holding that paper, just covered in red ink, and feeling like a complete and utter failure. It was devastating. So I went to my teacher, probably with tears in my eyes, and I said the only thing that made any sense to me. I had memorized every single formula, every rule. The only possible explanation was that I was just, broken, that I just had a bad memory. My teacher, he looked at me, he took the test, and then he said something that just completely flipped my world upside down. He didn't tell me to study harder. He told me the problem wasn't me, it was my entire approach. And that was it, the big aha moment. My memory was fine, my strategy was garbage. I was trying to memorize all these symbols without having any clue what story they were actually telling. I was just mimicking sounds in a language I didn't actually speak.
And look, this slide just nails the problem perfectly. My bad strategy was like trying to carry 1,000 individual bricks of information, one painful brick at a time. The confident students, they were driving a truck. You see, that fragile memorization is the first thing that shatters under pressure. But a deep, robust understanding, that's resilient. It's the huge difference between knowing a fact and knowing why that fact is true.
So, how do we build that truck? Well, I'm going to give you 3 survival protocols for when you're in that exam room and the clock is ticking. First up, the brain dump. This is your #1 weapon against that terrifying, paralyzing feeling of a blank page. Think of the brain dump as your preemptive strike against anxiety. What you're doing is immediately offloading everything from your short-term memory right onto the paper. That way, your brain doesn't have to carry the stress of holding on to it anymore. You're literally freeing up mental bandwidth.
And the process,
It's so simple. The second the test starts, you ignore question 1. You grab your scratch paper and you write down everything you're worried you might forget. SOHK TOA, the quadratic formula, any special rules, get it all out. What you've just done is create your own personal cheat sheet for the test.
The psychology behind this it's really powerful. First off, that data is secure now. You don't have to waste mental energy trying to remember it. But, and this is huge, action kills paralysis. You've written something. You've just proved to your brain, hey, I can do this. I can start. So when you finally turn to question 1, you're not starting from nothing. You're starting with a toolkit you built yourself.
Okay, let's move to protocol number 2, and you'll see how these build on each other. This one is called the translation, and it's all about turning that intimidating, alien language of math and science into something, well, human.
And this slide shows you exactly what I mean. Math notation can look so cold and aggressive. Don't just read the symbols, translate them into a story. So instead of just mechanically saying V equals D over T, you tell yourself the story. Okay, how fast I'm going is just how far I went divided by how long it took. When you make the problem human, it just becomes so much less scary.
Oh, and here's a huge pro tip for word problems. You know what? The numbers are just a distraction. For a second, just cross them out and read the sentences. What's the actual story here? Is a rocket launching? Is a tank filling with water? Once you get the narrative, the math is just the tool you use to write the ending. Okay, let's just take a quick breath here. If you can already feel your mindset shifting from panic to strategy, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps us understand which tools are the most valuable for you. And hey, if this is the kind of stuff you're into, building a sharper, more resilient mind, then make sure you subscribe to Brainpower Academy for more deep dives just like this one. All right, time for our third protocol. And honestly, this one might be the most powerful of them all. This is for that heart-stopping moment when you read a question and you have absolutely no idea where to even begin. This is the WDK Bridge. So, WDK, it just stands for What Do I Know? And instead of letting that panic spiral, you're just going to take a breath, write WDK at the top of your paper, and start listing every single piece of information the problem gives you.
Let's actually put this to the test. Imagine you get this problem, a right triangle, hypotenuse of 10, find the area. And your mind goes blank. You feel that panic rising in your chest. What do? The answer is, you don't try to jump the canyon in one heroic leap of insight, because that's how you fall. Instead, you're going to build a bridge to the other side, one logical plank at a time.
And this is literally what it looks like in practice. You write down WDK. Plank 1, I know it's a right triangle. Plank 2, I know the hypotenuse is 10. Plank 3, I know I need the area, and hey, I know that formula from my brain dump. You write it down. Then you connect the planks. Okay, so to get the area, I need the base and the height. Wait a second. I have a right triangle and a hypotenuse. Maybe Pythagoras can help me find those. Do you see what just happened there? You haven't solved the problem yet, but the panic is gone. You're not staring at a blank page anymore. You've laid out the facts like planks and built a bridge from I'm stuck to I know what to try next. You've created momentum.
You know, at the end of the day, this isn't really just about passing a test. It's about emotional management. Confidence isn't some magical feeling you just wait for. It's a protocol you execute. The difference between an A student and a struggling student is rarely about intelligence. It's about having a plan for when the panic hits.
So let's just quickly recap the transformation you've made today. You now have 3 concrete, practical protocols to beat exam panic. You've got a new skill, building a logical bridges from what you know to what you don't. You've got a new mindset that managing your emotions is actually more important than raw intelligence. And you have a powerful new truth. That feeling of struggle isn't a sign to stop. It's the feeling of your brain getting stronger.
Look, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this with them. And now I want to challenge you. Down in the comments, tell me, what is the one topic or skill that intimidates you the most? Let's build a community right here and demystify this stuff together. Because really, in the end, you're not just building a mind that can pass a class. You're building a mind that can solve real problems. And that is a superpower. So go out there, solve for X, but more importantly, solve for yourself.